During our last lesson, we worked on percent of increase and decrease, and we were given the percent and either the original amount or the new amount. And so we used a proportion method, or we talked about how we can manipulate our equation part equals rate times total to become change equals rate times original. So we're going to use both of those methods, or either of those methods, but this time we're not going to be given the percent. We're going to be given the original amount, we're going to find the amount of change, and we're going to be asked to find the percent. So please turn to the next page. You can find this paragraph about 2/3 of the way down on page 40. So in order to find the percent of increase or decrease, we must first calculate the change from the original amount and the current amount by subtracting. Then we can use the equation, or we can use a proportion. However, we must solve and convert the answer to a percent. So when we get finished, we'll have a decimal answer on our hands, and we must convert it to a percent. And we do that by multiplying by 100, or we can scoop the decimal 2 places to the right. So the question is, what is the percent of increase or decrease? So we can see we're starting at 14 and going to 21. So we can probably tell from 14 to 21 is an increase. Now, to find the change, we're going to start with the new amount. So that would be 21, and we're going to subtract the original amount, which was 14, and we get a positive 7. So that positive 7 also indicates that there's an increase. If we would have gotten a negative number, it would have indicated a decrease. And that's because we start with the new minus the original. So now our change is 7. So there's 2 ways we can look at this. I'm going to do proportion method first, and then we'll use our equation. You can decide which you like better. Since we're trying to find the percent, we don't know the percent, but we know that percent means over 100. So this whole ratio is regarding the percent. Now, here's where it gets tricky. If you want to review and look back, we're taking the change divided by the original. So the change that we saw is 7, and then we're dividing it by the original. In this case, we started with 14. So we're going to put the change over the original. And we're going to cross multiply. You can start whichever way you want. We have 700. 100 times 7 is 700. 14 times x is 14x. And now we want to solve this. We're going to drop our line. We're going to divide both sides by 14. And that is 50. Now, just a few minutes ago, you might have noticed I said, however, we must convert it to a percent, and I got a little bit ahead of myself. We're already representing a percent when we use the proportion method. We place this number over 100, so 50 out of 100 would be a percent. So the answer is 50%. Now, if I'm going to use the equation, it might be a little bit different. We are going to have to change to percent. So let's see what that looks like. If you remember part, that means we're working with the change when we use the equation. The rate is where the percent would be, and then the t, that's talking about the original amount. So if you look back at your paper on page 1 or the top of this page, we should have written this in those lines. So if we look, we have the change. The change is 7, and then the percent is what we're trying to figure out, so we're going to leave that variable r alone. We don't know it yet. But we do know the original. The original amount was 14. So this is side by side, so it means multiply. Generally in math, we like to see our number first followed by our variable. So we prefer to write r times 14 as 14r. Now we're ready to solve. We're going to divide both sides by 14. And we're going to get 0 and 5/10 on this side equals r. But we need this to be a percentage rate. So we're going to take 0 and 5/10 times 100, or we could take 0.5 and scoop the decimal forward once, twice. That's the same thing that multiplying by 100 gets, or would achieve. And so we're getting that the rate is 50, and then we just put the percent symbol on. So you're going to have to decide which one of these methods you think best suits your needs, the equation or the proportion method. And actually, I'm going to post a video that will show you kind of a shortcut way, which you can use, but I'd be careful so that you know what you're doing first. Let's practice another one. So this is example D, and we're going to start, we're going from 4 to 16. So 4 is the original, and we're moving to 16. So we can see right away that this is an increase, okay? And furthermore, if we take the new and subtract the original, we're going to get 12, and it's positive 12, so we are moving upward, so that's an increase. So either way we can start this. I'm going to go ahead and do the proportion first. I don't know the percent, so I'm going to use x over 100 because I'm looking for a percent. That's where the 100 comes in. We do know that the change is 12 over the original, which was 4. So it's okay for the number on top to be bigger, and that happens sometimes. So now we're going to cross multiply. We get 100 times 12 is 1,200. X times 4 is 4x. And then now we're going to solve by dividing both sides by 4. And that leaves 300. So 300 equals x. And because we started out with this number over 100, this is a percent. We don't have to do any conversion if we use the proportion method. So 300%, and let's look at that. If I took this 4 and I used it 3 more times and added it on to that, I would make it to 16. So let's see what the equation looks like. We're going to start, remember the part is talking about the change, the R is talking about the percentage, and the T is talking about the original. So we know that the change is 12. So we're talking about 12. We don't know what the percentage rate is yet. Well, actually we do, but we want to prove that it works this way. And then we want to use the original. The original amount was 4. Okay, so now I want to switch this around. We want to see the 4 first. So now we're ready to divide. I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and this time we're going to get 3 equals the rate. But this is an example where we have to change this to a percent. In the proportion method, the 100 is represented. But if we use this method, we have to multiply by 100, or we could take 3 and attach a decimal. It's hidden back there anyway, and we're just going to move it forward once, twice. That accounts for the 2 zeros. So either way, we're going to get 300%. So this is a 300% increase moving from 4 to 16. So I'd like you to try letter E and letter F. They're in word form, but it's the same concept. This one deals with an increase, and the next one deals with a decrease. Thanks so much. I'll post the key after you do this.